Hello and welcome to Geology, a channel dedicated to biology or the study of life. Now, before starting this video today, let me ask you, are you someone who uh, is hesitant to take up assertion and reasoning questions? Do you find the chapter heredity a little difficult? Or are you looking for solving some examples of assertion and reasoning questions with me? Maybe trying to understand how the solutions are derived, or you're looking for some tips to solve these questions. If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then this video is for you. Let's begin. Now let's know the technique of handling these questions. When you first get the question, take enough time to read it a little longer than what you spent for other questions, because these assertion and reasoning questions can get really tricky and confusing. Most importantly, when you're reading the two statements, read each of the two statements independently. First, read the assertion statement, check whether this is true or not. Then, check the reasoning statement and then see whether that is true or not. Only after that, try to match whether the reasoning statement gives the explanation for the assertion statement or not. It might sound confusing, but the more and more you practice, that's the key, and that's where it'll get clear to you. Then, these questions are basically meant to check whether you have understood your fundamentals, whether your concepts are clear. So you must revise your concepts well before exams so you're able to attempt these questions. And last but not the least, rather I would say very important, is that you get a good night's sleep so that when you are looking at these questions, your thinking is not clouded, you're not drowsy, you are well alert to understand and solve these questions. For the current batch of 2023-24, the structure of the question has an assertion statement and a reasoning statement, where the reasoning statement, we need to check if it explains the assertion statement correctly or not. If both A and R are true, and if the reason is the correct explanation of A, then your answer should be option A. If both of them are true, but R does not explain the A correctly, then the answer will be B. If the first statement assertion is true and the second statement reasoning is false, then the answer should be C. And if assertion is wrong, but the reasoning as an individual statement by itself is right, then the answer will be D. Let's practice a few questions. Question 1. Assertion: the sex of a child is determined by the mother. Reason: humans have two types of sex chromosomes, X and Y. The first statement is not correct. The second statement individually is correct. Hence, the answer is D. A is false, but R is true. Now, why did we say this? Let's look at the sex determination in human beings. The father or the male in humans have two sex chromosomes, X and Y. The mother has two sex chromosomes, X and X. So the sperms produced by the father are of two types. 50% of the sperms are X, that is carrying X chromosomes. The other 50% of the sperms carry Y chromosomes. However, in case of the mother, all the ova carry only X chromosomes. So when the sperm having X chromosome fuses with the ovum having X chromosome, what we get as the offsprings are women, irrespective of whether this fuses with this X or this fuses with the other X. If the sperm carrying Y chromosome fuses with the ovum carrying X chromosome, in this case and in this case, the offspring that we get has XY and XY chromosomes, which means that these offsprings are males. So there is a 50% possibility of having males and 50% possibility of having female offsprings. Now we have seen that the mothers produce only same type of ovum, that is the ovum having X chromosomes. It's only the father who is able to produce the differentiated sperms, which results in the different genders of the babies. Hence, the sex of a child determined by the mother is incorrect. Question 2. Assertion. In humans, height is a trait which shows variation. The reasons: some humans are very tall, some have medium height, whereas others are short height. Both the statements are true. However, just because somebody is tall and somebody is medium and someone is short, is that the reason for showing variation? No. In fact, it's the other way around. Height is a trait which shows variation. That is why some people are tall, some are medium, and some are short. So hence, the reason given here is not the correct explanation for the assertion. Your answer thus will be B. Both the statements are true, but B is not the correct explanation of A. Question 3. Assertion. Pea plant is considered ideal for hybridization experiments. That's true. Reason: pea is self-pollinating plant with short life cycle and bears visible contrasting traits. That's also true. And that's actually the reason why Mendel chose pea plants for his hybridization experiments. So because these plants are self-pollinating, they produce the next generation very quickly. We can also very easily get pure lines, and because of the short life cycle, many generations can be produced at a comparatively short span of time, and it becomes easy to study the trends. Hence, your answer is A. Question 4. Assertion. The statistical probability of getting either a male or a female child is 50-50% in humans, which is true. We have just seen that in the previous questions where we saw the reasons also. And then reason: the gametes of the male parent are of two types, and that decides the sex of the child, which is absolutely correct. And that's the reason why the probability of getting male or female child is 50%. So the answer would be A. For getting the detailed explanation, go back and refer to the previous question, question 1. Question 5. Assertion. A geneticist crossed two pea plants and got 50% tall and 50% dwarf in the progeny. Reason: one plant was heterozygous and the other was dwarf. For these questions, I would suggest that you first make the cross. So let's cross the two parents, heterozygous tall, that is capital T small t, dwarf small t small t. This parent will produce two types of gametes, one with capital T, one with small t. This one will produce gametes which are both small t and small t. So when we have the fusion or the zygote formation, that is this capital T fuses with small t to give capital T small t, that's a heterozygous tall. This capital T fuses with this small t and we get again tall. Then this small t and this small t gives dwarf, and this small t and this small t gives dwarf. So we can see there is actually a possibility of getting 50% tall plants and 50% dwarf plants. So which means that both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Hence the answer would be A. Question 6. Assertion. Monohybrid cross deals with inheritance of one pair of contrasting characters. Reason: dihybrid cross deals with the inheritance of two pairs of contrasting characters. Now, independently both the statements are correct, but dihybrid cross deals with two pairs is not the explanation for what is monohybrid cross. So hence, your answer will be B. Both A and B are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Mono means one and di means two. Assertion. When the pea plants pure line having round yellow seeds are crossed with pure line plants having wrinkled green seeds, then all the pea plants obtained in the F1 generation bear wrinkled green seeds. That's not right. And then reason: Round and yellow seeds are dominant to wrinkled and green seeds. The statement given in the reason independently is a correct statement. We know that the round and yellow characteristics are dominant to the wrinkle and green characteristics. But we also know that when we cross pure line dominant and pure line recessive parents, the F1 generation is always a hybrid dominant. Hence, the assertion statement is false. So your answer will be D. A is false but R is true. Assertion. In turtles, high incubation temperature above 33 degrees leads to the development of female offsprings, whereas in lizards, high incubation temperature results in male offsprings. Reason. In some reptiles, the temperature at which the fertilized egg is incubated before hatching plays a role in determining the sex of the offspring. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A, because the sex in most turtles and many species of crocodiles is determined by the environment after fertilization. Note, however, that if the reason and the assertion statement gets interchanged, then even though both the statements are true, then the reason, this statement will not become the reason for this statement, and hence at that time your answer will be B. So be very cautious of the order in which these assertion and the reasoning statements are given. Question 9. Assertion. Selfing of a plant for several generations helps plant breeders to obtain pure breeding varieties. Reason. Pure breeding plants are heterozygous for many traits. The answer is C, because R is false. The name purebred itself says that it is homozygous. The first line is true, because self-pollination, when done multiple times, we are able to obtain pure line offsprings. Question 10. Assertion. Dominant allele is the one which expresses itself even in the presence of another allele of the gene. Reason. It is expressed by capital letter. Example, capital Y for yellow seed color. The first statement is absolutely correct. That is the definition of a dominant allele, because it expresses itself even in a heterozygous condition. Example, if you have a capital Y, small y, still the phenotype will be yellow. And this allele is written with capital letters. So that is correct. However, the reason, just because something is written in capital letters does not become dominant. On the contrary, since it is dominant, it is written in capital letters. So hence, both the statements are correct, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Hence, our answer would be B. I hope you have been able to understand how to tackle these questions. If you like this video, please do like, comment, and share, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.